First of all, fuck all of you. Secondly, tickle fights by VampiresTDIfreddyfangirl. The gate shut, locking the large black steed into its stall. Ooh, foreshadowing. Darren stretched his fingers, walking from the few horses that were in the stable. Long day of practice? Jumping a bit at the noise, Darren turned to see the short blonde boy sitting in the hay. Yeah, it's nice having a human teacher, but it's a lot more tiring. Which was true. While he was happy to have his father back to normal, he was still just as tough, strict, and hard to please as he was while a frog. He walked over the large hay pile and took a seat beside Finn, relaxing and leaning back, crossing his arms behind his head. He sighed in relaxation, this moment being the first in hours he had sat down on something other than a saddle. Finn chuckled at the boy beside him. He's still being tough on you, huh? Darren nodded slightly, sinking into the comfortable position. Well, that's too bad. You're a great knight in training. Darren smirked cockily, opening one eye and looking at the shorter boy. Of course I am. I'm the greatest at everything, of course. The tone was a mix of cocky teenager and joking, but Finn laughed at it, harder than he should have, really. You're such a dork, Darren. Poking the other boy's side, Finn grinned as he jerked away and earned a glare. I am not. I'm amazing. You're just jealous of how tall I am. Pushing himself up with his arms, Darren smirked while Finn put on some sort of man pout. I am not. Being tall isn't that great anyway. Finn crossed his arms and glared best he could at the lanky teenager, who was just laughing at him. And being a skinny little kid is? Finn's glare deepened and at Darren hard laughter. Finn's glare. Before getting fed up and sort of tackling him. Grabbing Darren's shoulders, Finn let out a hybrid whine yell of "Stop laughing at me!" only making Darren laugh even harder. Finn dropped his shoulders, making him fall back on the hay, spelled H-E-Y. Good job, author. His arms on his stomach as he continued to laugh. You want to laugh? Fine, I'll give you something to laugh about. Delicate fingers found their way to the hips of the boy below him, and in a split second they were squeezing and teasing at them. Ooh. The laughter from Darren had increased, as did his struggles to get away from the offending Finn was small and light. He was very sturdy, and even the squirming from the stronger boy beneath him didn't move him. He didn't even move anything more than his fingers until two hands began attacking his sides in a similar manner, making him laugh along Darren. His fingers slowed but didn't stop. Instead, they moved to Darren's stomach, making his hands flee Finn's sides and try to protect his most ticklish spot. Finn grinned, his breath catching up to him as his small wrists wrapped around the taller... This is the most sexual tickling I've ever seen in my life. Around the taller boys and pinned them beside him and under his knees. He smirked and made a show of pulling up his shirt, loving the power he held over him. No, wait, Finn, don't! Though cries fell on helpless ears. Once his shirt was pulled up to his ribs, Finn smirked at him. We've missed the letter F, so it just says in. Yeah. Any last words? He teased, in a mischievous grin, taking in after. I will have my revenge! Finn laughed, the humour in the joke not above anyone's head. He took a deep breath, and as Darren finished one last plea, he leaned in and blew in his... This writing is so bad. Darren erupted in laughter, his head back as far as it could go. Finn had a hard time keeping his mouth flat since, wow, this was hilarious to him. The guy who tried to kill him, the junior knight, was being taken down by tickling. It was actually really, really cute. Really cute. Just like he always was. Finn gulped. The lump in his throat refused to go down. He stopped in his antics, Darren still laughing from the leftover feeling. That's when Finn got to notice how uncomfortable his leg was. Ooh! He looked down to see why. It felt like his circulation was being cut off and his eyes met something very interesting. He smirked again. Every bit of mischief was back in his face and his mind. Nice cod piece, he commented, knowing exactly what it really was. But Darren didn't have to know that just yet. It was obvious he didn't when Finn saw his eyes go wide and his head shoot up. Thanks? Finn bit back laughter as blood rushed quickly to the junior knight's face as he tried to avoid direct eye contact. Pretty sturdy too, cut off circulation in my leg. Finn gave a fake enthusiastic laugh that turned real at the end as the other boy's face grew redder. Custom made? Finn had to bite his lip from laughing at how red Darren's face was now, and the expression of embarrassment and uncomfortableness didn't help his cause. Finn smirked, a glint in his eye as he leaned over Darren, his face right above the others. Mind if I admire it? The look on Darren's face could not be described in any way, as he was a deep shade of red and very, very surprised. I'll take that as a yes, then. Finn moved up smoothly down his legs, now between Darren's, and folded under him as skilled hands worked the ties of his pants. Darren was still in shock, as he did, not even noticing until his pants were pulled down. Stay tuned for part 2. Finn, what are you doing? This is... Darren, I don't care. Clearly you don't either. He cut him off, not taking his eyes off Darren's erection. Besides, what can they do? Even if they found out, my mother supports me no matter what. She knows what I am, and yeah, it's illegal, but she holds it above the law. Smirking as that seemed to shut up Darren. Finn continued to examine what he had to work with. He couldn't help but smirk at how well developed, one might say, Darren was. Though what could you expect? The boy was in the later years of puberty, so having a nice 8-inch length on him wasn't too surprising. How fucking unreal it. Has this person ever seen a dick? Seriously. Now let's just see what we can do with this. Darren's breath hitched as a sensation invaded his lower body. Everything tingled at the wet, warm feeling spread over the tip of his length, and slowly more of it. His arms shook, turning to jello as he fell back onto the leaning on forearms, staring down at the blonde who was currently causing all of this. Finn looked at him, quite pleased at the reaction he was getting, but it wasn't over. Not by a long shot. This is so bad. His lips slid off, stopping at the tip of his head. Darren gulped, a bit disappointed at the missing sensation. That is, until Finn's tongue began running over him, causing a new wave of pleasure to ring oh God. Through Darren's body whole, his fingers clenching at the hay as he let out a moan. Well, aren't you easy to please? Finn teased, before once again taking Darren in his mouth, tasting him and savouring every moment. This moment he'd been waiting for so long, and it was even better than he'd ever imagined. Darren couldn't even be mad at this tease. His mind too fuzzy at all these brand new tingles. This was sinful. This was illegal. That was amazing. Finn was far too skilled with his tongue for Darren to care about anything else. Finn smirked inward, happy that he was doing so well. Some sort of second nature, he guessed. Whose second nature is sucking dick? His mouth once again slid from Darren, stopping at the head as he thought out his next move, before licking down the top of his shaft while he caressed the bottom of it, grinning slyly as he heard a loud groan, almost laughing when Darren threw his head back. Finn's tongue reached its true destination, where he began licking and sucking at Darren's balls, the gasp and choked breath only making him go faster. Darren's fists were clenched tight, hay practically being obliterated in his grip. Everything Finn was doing was so mind-meltingly perfect he couldn't even think straight at this point. Not that he really cared. As Finn continued his fun over Darren's cock, pleasuring them both with every move, he went back to his head and swirled his tongue over the nerve-filled area. Darren's breath became shallow as his moans became louder, very happy that he had stayed after to put up with the horses on his own. Finn began sucking on the tender flesh, his tongue still working as fast as he could and as he watched Darren clench his fists more and gasp in pleasure. Soon enough the shaking boy sat up straight, his hands moving into the blonde's hair, almost ripping it out as he orgasmed. White-hot fluid filled Finn's mouth, and he did his best to swallow it. Once Darren had finished his load, he let go of Finn's hair, almost collapsed into the hay pile, breathing heavily at the events that had just transpired. Finn licked his lips, savouring the pleasant, pleasing taste as he crawled up beside Darren and laid on his stomach, waiting for any response at all, really. After a few minutes, Darren sat up in smoke, pulled up his trousers before sitting back down and picking hay from his hair. They both sat in silence for some time, neither having any idea what to say. Eventually Finn spoke up. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have done that. Before he could finish, Finn found himself in a kiss, a tongue exploring his mouth before he could even think of what to do. Finn moaned against Darren's lips, getting the message that everything he did was okay, and the message that he wasn't the only one with a skilled tongue. Breaking the kiss just enough so he could speak, a string of saliva still collecting, and Darren smirked cockily at him. Don't worry about it, Finn. He stood up and grabbed his bag, walking to the door, turning his head and looking back, his eyes half closed in an alluring come-hither look. But next time it's my turn. And with that, he left to go home and think up an excuse as to why he was so late, leaving Finn to be the one flustered for a moment.